Welcome back to Squawk Box. Congressional Democrats going back to the drawing board to put the party back together following Donald Trump's victory. Joining us right now is Virginia Senator Mark Warner. Good morning to you. Help us understand this, because we've asked the question of a number of guests today and throughout the past week since Donald Trump won the presidency, but also given where now we have the White House, the Senate, and the House all together on the Republican side. Do you look at what's happened in the past, we could call it week or maybe the past several years even, as an indictment of the policies of the Democratic Party? Is that the lesson here? Or do you look at Hillary Clinton and say she was just a terribly flawed candidate? How do you measure all of this?
Well, first I'd say that what happened last week in Trump's election was a rejection of not only the Democrats, but establishment Republicans. It was a rejection, candidly, of most of the media, since virtually every paper endorsed Clinton. It was candidly a rejection of big business. Not a single Fortune 500 CEO endorsed Trump. So yes, the Democrats got to do a better job. We can't just be a party of metropolitan areas and of the East Coast and the West Coast. And this has been something I've been preaching since I became governor of Virginia. We've got to put broadband in rural communities. We've got to bring jobs back to communities that have been hurt by technology and globalization. But I think the bigger question that all of us have got to re-examine is, how do we make this economic system work for enough folks? I think, again, I spent longer in business than I have in politics. But the business cycle we see today, which is all about quarter-to-quarter profits, that's not about long-term investment, the business community we see today that has 95% of corporate profits spent on share buyback and dividends rather than reinvesting in businesses, the fact that the workforce has changed. Nobody works. My dad worked for the same company for 45 years. Nobody works for the same company for 45 years. Now, a third of our workforce is in some form of part-time or contingent work or independent contractors. They got no social insurance at all. So how do we put together a portable benefit system that works?
Senator,
so I think this is underlying about economic system change, and that's where I think the Democrats got ahead, and frankly, the Republicans as well.
But one of the things in this election, clearly, the focus on growth and focus on jobs won out over the idea of more regulation and more redistribution in this instance. So the question for the next cycle, when it comes to how the Democrats think about this, is, from a policy perspective, do you believe the party is going to go more to the left, or do you think is actually going to go more to the center or possibly even more to the right?
I believe strongly that we've got to align the incentives in capitalism to make it work for a broader group of people. I believe strongly in growth. I believe strongly in innovation. I also think we've got to look at some of the fundamentals. The social contract that was put together in the 1930s and 1940s, which was based on the assumption you're going to work at the same firm for 20 years, that's gone. We've got to re-examine that. Candidly, how do we get businesses to invest on a longer-term basis and not so much managed quarter to quarter? I think we can lead that, and that's where I think Democrats ought to head.
Senator Sam Zell is here, and I think he's got a question for you.
Hey, Sam.
My question is, having listened to what you just said, Senator, how did you vote for Dodd-Frank? How did you vote for Obamacare? Both of those are job killers and contrary to the growth that you're talking about.
Well, Sam, let me try to answer your question. First of all, as somebody, again, who spent a career in finance and was co-founder of Nextel, was in the telecom revolution, I believe strongly in that free enterprise system. But I got to tell you, there was a lot of bad stuff going on in the financial system leading up to 2008. You needed to put some guardrails in place. Now, was Obamacare perfect? By no means was it perfect. But we added 22 million people that got health care coverage. And candidly, you've even seen Donald Trump now say, he wants to keep the prohibition on pre-existing condition. He wants to keep folks on the policies till they're 26. He says none of those folks are going to lose. Let me answer the question, Sam. None of those people are going to lose their insurance and transition. I want to hold him to his word. But I also think what we've heard and what I think the challenge of the president-elect is going to be is he promises this massive tax cut, and he's not told us how he's going to pay for it. We got $19 trillion in debt. What I'm hoping is that particularly my friends in the Freedom Caucus over on the House side are going to be as tough on debt and deficit as they were with Obama, because if we do a short-term sugar high with a tax cut that's unpaid for and massive new spending, when interest rates go up, you know as well as I do, Sam, we can't meet the debt service that we've already run up.
Sir, great to have you on. We really appreciate it.